And welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Easy Peasy Books podcast. And I have a very, very special guest in the house today who I have actually met personally, given her hugs. It was such a wonderful experience. We shared the stage together, Uplift Live, a couple of years ago for their debut conference, and it was absolutely brilliant. And so Louise Brogan, please, before we get stuck in, can you go ahead and tell people who you are and what you do, and then we'll talk about your book journey.
Okay, well, thank you so much for inviting me onto your fabulous podcast, first of all. So my name is Louise Brogan. I live in Northern Ireland in the UK, and I have 3 kids who are all, the youngest is now 16, Gillian, so they're not babies anymore. And I run a business helping people with LinkedIn, which is kind of what my book is about.
Absolutely. So let's just jump into, what is your book? So I have a copy here on my Kindle, and we have the matching set. We have paperback and Kindle. And so can you tell us, first of all, well, for anybody who's listening, let me say the title. So it's Raise Your Visibility on LinkedIn with Louise Brogan, because we always have to record for the year as well, because we know people listen to the podcast. And so, Louise, tell us what your book is about, who it's for, and what problem does it solve?
Okay. So the book is for people who want to be visible on LinkedIn. So a lot of people are using LinkedIn, especially even more now since like 2020, the number of people on LinkedIn has grown exponentially. But a lot of people I meet, Gillian, don't really know what they should be doing on there. So my book is really for the person. It's not for job seekers. It's for using LinkedIn to raise your profile if you want to be booked as a speaker or booked on podcasts, or you want to generate business, basically. And I've always talked about 4 pillars of LinkedIn, and that's what the book is about. So that is having a good, strong foundation, which is your profile, then what kind of content to share on LinkedIn and why it matters, who to connect with, so how to build a network of value that helps you and you find it interesting. And then the 4th pillar is how does all of this work and come together in the ecosystem that can help you land clients, make really good connections, and grow your business as a result.
Brilliant. And, I love how it all goes together. And it's so true that many of us, you can kind of take a survey in the room and you can say, how long have you been on LinkedIn? And people will raise their hand and be like 10 years or whatever. And then you say, now, how long have you actually really been on LinkedIn? And they're like 6 months, because so many of us, right? We make that LinkedIn profile.
Yes.
And then we walk away and we just go, LinkedIn doesn't work. And it's like, well, have you ever done anything? You uploaded your resume and you expect it to bring you business when that's not even what you do now. So it's you're right. It's the integration of so much. And I agree. Everything starts with your profile. I actually saw your video today talking about the profile being a foundational, that's where everything rests. So good stuff. So I also like too that your book can also, while it helps business owners, it also can help businesses, right? Because you talk about teams in your book. So this is a good book for a business to get, not just individuals. So you actually are serving 2 audiences, so to speak, aren't you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's a whole section about how, if you have a team, you have a company, how can you bring your team members along on board with your plans for LinkedIn to grow the business? It's funny that you mentioned the video that I did today, Gillian. So it's the start of the year as we're recording this, and I have promised myself to be better at actually marketing my own business, which, I do it for other people really well, but I don't do it for myself very well. So what I've done is I've taken my book and I have created a content plan for the next 3 months based on the key structures in the book. And I am promising that I'm going to stick to it. Let's see how long that lasts, but that's my intention. So that's why I did a video today about the profile, because everything starts with the profile and that's where the book starts. So I thought, that's where we're going to start with the content for January, pulling from the stuff I've already written in the book.
Perfect. Perfect. And that's a great marketing strategy because, you know, it's not just about launching your book and then you're just like, okay, I'm done. Just like writing the book and you're not done. There's like, that's just like the beginning. You know, I always liken it to have a baby. You know, it's like you have all that fun stuff in the beginning and then you got to be pregnant and launch the baby and grow the baby and everything else. And it's the same thing with the book, but also too, I love how you're, you know, we're jumping ahead with the marketing, but and I want to get back to the pre stuff first. But I love that idea that like once you have your book, now how do you continue to use that as a content machine for you? Because it's the ultimate repurpose. Like we talk about repurposing a video or something like that. You can repurpose your book and use it as a content strategy. And people will want to learn more about your business, maybe want to learn about your book. Maybe you have courses and programs and other things. So use it as like sort of that hub that everything grows from. So brilliant, brilliant. So let's go back in our time machine. So I remember when you were, you know, sort of first talking about writing the book and the journey, and you wrote it. And then you got into a little bit of problem with LinkedIn. So can you tell us that? Because it's like, that's kind of the heart of like, oh, where it can be really hard being author when you try to do things right and it creates headaches. So can you take us back to what happened to you?
This was literally a year ago because I remember it nearly ruined my Christmas last year. So I wrote the book. And I've always wanted to be a writer, Gillian. Even when I was a kid, I read voraciously. I read novels constantly. I can't go to bed at night without reading for 20 minutes. And I always wanted to write. I never thought I'd write a nonfiction book. I always thought I'd write something, you know, Jane Austen style, or I don't know. I don't have that skill set. Maybe that's my retirement. So I wrote the book. And as you say, like, oh my goodness, it's such a labor of love. And you finally actually finish it. It's like, then the work began. It was horrendous. So the reason the book is called Raise Your Visibility on LinkedIn. I have renamed everything else in my business to Raise Your Visibility Online because of what happened with the book. So I was all set to publish the book, and I self-published. And people said, oh, you should go to a publisher. And I thought, I don't have to wait another 6 months or another 9 months for this to get out in the world. I just want to get it done and get it out there. And somebody messaged me on LinkedIn and said, Louise, have you checked with the LinkedIn Trademark team? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And a friend of mine, it's a actually lovely girl called Miranda, who is in New York State, and she had published a book. She says, no, Louise, you need to get approval for your book title from LinkedIn if you have LinkedIn on the title. I was like, right, okay. And I thought, like, all I do is help people with LinkedIn. This shouldn't be that challenging, right? Gillian. I would love to know how long it took me. It took me weeks and weeks. Basically, I came up against a very earnest law. Well, I don't even know what their job title was. I can't remember now, but somebody in the trademark team. And they said, you cannot use the word LinkedIn on your title until you do the following things. And I basically had to take LinkedIn, the word LinkedIn, out of all of my products, all of my packages, bearing in mind my whole business has been about helping people with LinkedIn. That was okay. Then they went on my website and they said, you have to remove our image from all of your blog images. So I love to write. I've written a blog since 2013, I think. So you imagine how many hundreds of blogs there are on my website, and every blog always has a header image because I used to do all the social media. So I knew that I wanted to get my blog onto Pinterest. So there'd be a Pinterest size pin image with the LinkedIn logo on it. And they said, you can't use our logo on any of your images. And I was like, oh my Lord. I actually deleted so many blog posts because I just got fed up trying to redo all the images. And I went back to them. It took weeks. And I went back to them. I said, right, I've done that. And then they went off. So I have a YouTube channel with 300 plus videos. And every video about LinkedIn had the LinkedIn logo on the YouTube thumbnail. So for people who are listening or watching who don't really pay that much attention to how LinkedIn or how YouTube works as a business, because most people just type something into Google, the YouTube thumbnail comes up, click on it and you watch the video. You don't really think about it at all. But a thumbnail is kind of the cover image of your video on YouTube. So if you think about Netflix and you go into Netflix, which people probably are a bit more familiar with, and you're scrolling through what the programs are, the image on the screen is designed to catch your attention. So you click on it to watch that program on Netflix because we connect quicker visually. And YouTube is the same thing. So people who see a thumbnail with the LinkedIn logo on it will click on it quickly because they think, oh, this video is about LinkedIn. Well, LinkedIn don't allow that. And I had to change every single thumbnail on my YouTube channel. Now, the blog is a bit easier. For YouTube, I had to go and create brand new thumbnails and upload them. And it's not easy to do that. I mean, it's easy if you do it for one video, but to do it for all videos, it was just, honestly, it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. And I nearly gave up. I just thought, what is the point in this? I think I cried one day when I got one of the emails back. And I think I cried and I thought, why? There's no point in this. I also said that if I change the name of the book to Raise Your Visibility Online, will you let me do that? Will you kind of go away?
Like, I'll just change my title. It's easier. Yeah.
And she said, no, because they were not aware of me. And then I says, but look at all these other people on YouTube, like big, massive, successful, famous people like Gary Vaynerchuk, people like that are all using your logo on their videos. They didn't care. They just didn't care. It got to the stage where all she would do is reply with a link to their trademark regulations page. And literally that was it. I then found out, interestingly, Gillian, that you can use the word LinkedIn on your thumbnails. You just can't use their logo. But she never, I tried to get clarification on that and she never gave me clarification. So I still have hundreds of videos out there about LinkedIn where the word LinkedIn doesn't even appear on the thumbnail. I also wasn't allowed to use the word LinkedIn as the first word in the title of the YouTube video. I mean, it was so painful. It was awful. It was awful.
Wow. Yeah. And then why is your book, you changed the color of your book too, right? Was that not another requirement? I remember that.
No blue allowed anywhere. No blue allowed on anywhere on my book cover or in the inside of my book. Not that it's in color anyway. I had to take any blue. And I was like, but my business brand colors are blue and yellow. It's got nothing. It's not the LinkedIn blue. I have had blue and yellow, since 2017 in my logo. Didn't care. They just didn't care.
Wow. And I guess what's really interesting is that once you got on their radar screen, it became way more than the book. It was just like, okay, now, and the thing is, because of the position that you have as a LinkedIn expert, LinkedIn trainer, you can't not comply. Like anybody else could just say, well, you know what, forget about it. I don't care. And LinkedIn pulls my account. Okay, so what? I'll just go on, Substack or something like that. I'll just go back to Twitter, whatever. But when you're a LinkedIn trainer, you have to play by the rules. And my heart goes out to you because it's like, I've seen, just go to Amazon and look up all the books, type in LinkedIn.
They're all blue.
It's just crazy. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
But the thing is, you jump through the hoops, you did the right thing, and everything's good. And at least you can just say, at least, luckily you didn't have to change your domain. I've heard of some people where LinkedIn's actually taken their domain and said, you got to forward it to us. And they're just like, I think I'll retire early now. Like,
I didn't have, and I kind of had heard rumblings about this from other people, not about books necessarily, but just in terms of their businesses. So I had started to change things. So my YouTube channel, I renamed Raise Your Visibility Online, and my podcast, which was LinkedIn with Louise. And I love a good bit of alliteration, but couldn't do that. So it became Raise Your Visibility Online as well. And I'm happy enough with that. I think I definitely probably missed out on a lot of traffic for not having LinkedIn in the podcast name, to be honest. But that's okay. I kind of do my podcast as a like something I love doing, as opposed to generating business for me. The other thing about the book cover, actually, Gillian, I'll hold it up for people who are watching on the video. I went I was in Gatwick Airport, and I thought, right, if I can't have blue on my cover, what book covers are standing out for me on the business rack? And book covers with black writing on white with a touch of red are all over the place. So that's where I ended up with that design.
I love that. I love that. And did you have an actual book designer you worked with, like to do the cover for you?
Oh, I have some funny stories. So the person who I worked with a brilliant team. So I wrote the book myself, and then I hired a editor, a proofreader, the typesetter. I didn't know you had to do all these things, and they were fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And then I think it was the typesetter said, I need. He says, "Have you got your dimensions for your book cover yet?" And I said, "No, I haven't actually got a book cover yet." And he says, "Oh, I'll design you one." And he sent me over this design. I was like, no, no one is buying that. So I went and worked with the lady who actually had done all my other logos. She did the book cover design for me. She's fabulous. In fact, I probably wouldn't hire anybody else for that work anymore. But all of these things you don't know, you know.
That's true.
I bought a book about publishing a book yourself, and they didn't mention any of this stuff to me. I was like, what do you mean I need a proofreader after an editor? Is that what the editor does? So yeah, I learned a lot.
There's and literally it does take a village. You know, I remember when we have a common friend, John Asperian. I remember when he first wrote his book, Content DNA, and he wrote an excellent blog post, which I've always told people, go read John's post, because it's a fabulous post where he talks about the team, the village that it took to actually make his book. And he was so transparent. He even said, this is what I paid for an editor. This is what I paid for the person to design the cover. Like, he actually tells you all the different people and what it all cost him. And and that's fabulous, because then you can look at it and you can say, wow, it actually costs a lot more money to write, to publish a book, self-publish a book, than you think it's going to. So you have to really think it through, because I think people are just like, oh, I'll just do it all myself. No. It's pretty much impossible to do it all yourself. You've got to outsource some of it and get, it does take a village. It takes a village.
If you want a decent product. I mean, there was a woman in Ireland who I know, who will remain nameless, who said to me, "Oh, I've written a book." And I said, "Oh, right, great." And I went on Amazon and bought it, and it arrived in the post. I thought, oh my Lord, does she know how terrible this is? It was all, the typesetting was all over the place. It didn't function as a book. And I thought, oh, you cannot do this on your own.
That's true. And I actually know somebody who is a LinkedIn trainer, and I will not name their names because I just think that's mean. But I remember I was going to see them we were on some sort of like summit or something like that, you know, where there's like 60 speakers or whatever. And I thought, oh, they wrote a book, you know, and this was before I wrote my book. And I went and I got their book on Amazon. And then I was just like, oh my gosh, like it was like 4 words on a page, or, you know, it was just like, it was very strange. And it was like, had links that went all over to broken things. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, you know, it can backfire, that if you have a book that's bad, it could really hurt your credibility. So that's the thing.
Yeah, this person was very professional, and I was just really surprised that they put such a product out into the world. And I thought, did they actually know this is how it arrives? Because my background, Gillian, is I was a software engineer, and software engineers, we had to test everything. So nobody was buying my book until I got a copy of it in my hands to make sure that it looked right.
Yes. So back to your book. So you had the paperback, you had the ebook, you had a little bit of kerfuffle with the ebook going a little bit early, but it ended up being a happy story. So sometimes there's always like, you just go, what is this nightmare? Because I think your pre-order went too soon. And I remember even talking to you in the DMs, and you had some stuff going on, but it went early. But that ended up being okay, because that the surprise was the bestseller status that you got by doing that. But then you had the actual real launch. So when is your actual, like, forget the pre-order, you know, jumping the gun and saying, I think I want to come now. The real book launch, what date was that? Because you should be coming up soon to your.
I should know that. The reason I'm laughing is because I had so many actual in-person launches. I had a ball with this book. I had a ball. When was my? I don't remember, Jillian, but it must have been.
I'm thinking it's like February. I'm thinking it was like the beginning of February.
Yes.
So you brought up the topic that I'd love to talk about, an in-person launch. So
Yes.
many of us do, book launch parties. I've done several of those where we've done online book launch parties on YouTube and LinkedIn. And those are amazing and fun and generate so much, engagement.
Yes.
But there's nothing better than an in-person launch. So Louise, can you walk us through yours? Because that would be a fabulous learning experience for us.
So I had two big ones. I had one in Belfast, where I live, and then I had not a surprise one, but it was much bigger than I thought it was going to be in London. Not in terms of size, but I'll tell you about the Belfast one first. So my friend Claire is a journalist, and I said to her, I'd like to do a proper launch for the book. And we hired the local university, gave us a space. We just paid for teas and coffees. And Claire came and she interviewed me. So she has been on the BBC. She's an independent journalist now, but she was on, she's on national TV in the UK. She hosts Songs of Praise now and does lots of other things. So she's a professional interviewer. So she interviewed me. But what was so special about Gillian was that we've known each other since we were 4 years old.
Oh.
So we went to the same primary school, secondary school. I know those are UK terms. And we both did geography at the University of Dundee. So we've known each other our whole lives. And it was so lovely. It was so special. And I sent out the invites to anybody I thought should come. I am a bit haphazard sometimes. Some people came on the wrong date because I initially had a date and then I had to move the date. That was a bit embarrassing. But I highly recommend having an in-person launch. So there's probably about 40 people there, I think.
Wow.
Across my local business network. And Claire interviewed me in front of the stage. I then signed books, which I still find just amazing that people want you to sign their copy of their book. It's so lovely. And then we took questions from the audience, and then we had so probably all in all, it's about 2 hours, I think. And we got, my sister's a photographer, and she took a picture of us all out the front, all holding the book in the air. It was so special. And then I thought I'd like to launch it again. So I was going to London for an event at the House of Lords in March. Must be International Women's Day, maybe. And I thought that's a perfect place to take my book. And I take my book to places like that, and I hold it up when I'm photographing. I'm like, oh, there's my book, House of Lords. And an old school friend of mine said, Louise, I want to come to your book launch in London. And I said, oh, right, well, my plan was, Gillian, just to host it I didn't want to pay for anywhere because London's expensive. I thought, I'll just host it in the reception area of my hotel. And she said, absolutely, you will not. So she contacted her friend, who is a director at Fujitsu in London. And they hosted my book launch in London. And they streamed it live across the whole of the UK's women's network for Fujitsu. So it was just wonderful. It was so lovely. And then I had another one in Dublin. And anywhere I go, I say, I've written a book if you'd like to a speaker. And I take copies of my book with me. And I've sold it in that style. I've sold that at events in Dublin and Donegal as well. And it's just, it's like, it's the best marketing tool you can have as a business, I think. Once you actually get the thing done and published and out there, just keep using it.
I love that. And you're right. In my opinion, your business book is like, it's like that business card on steroids. It's out working for you, and you can take it anywhere. It's awesome when you can be on the stage and you can hold it up when you go to a conference. And let's talk about a conference in California, because you took it there. So can you tell us about that experience? Because it was just like the book and the conference, either one of them happening would be awesome. Having them happen back to back was just like probably the dream team approach. Can you tell us about that conference?
Yes. So I spoke last year at Social Media Marketing World, and a returning speaker this year, talking about video on LinkedIn. So it's very exciting. And so because I'm not an American citizen, you can't just bring books to sell. Like, you're not allowed to do that. So I thought, how because of the visa, the rules, of course, it's a different country, but you can give them out as gifts. So I put as many books as I could put in my suitcase, and I spoke at my event, and then I handed out copies of the book to anybody who wanted them, and also strategically handed them out to people that I thought would be good people to have in my network. And actually, Gillian, I did the same thing in Boston. I went to a big marketing conference in Boston there, and I took about 10 books with me, and I was very strategic about who I gave them to. And one of the people I had pre-arranged, so I went on my LinkedIn and I typed in Boston and my first connections to see who I knew in Boston. And one of the people there who came up first in the list teaches at Boston University and teaches marketing. So I said to her, I'm going to be in Boston. Would you like to meet for coffee? And she said, I would love that. I was like, oh, happy days. So I took her a copy of my book and gave it to her as a gift. And she has, long story short, she loved the book. And my book is now on the recommended reading list for the marketing course at Boston University.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's fabulous. That is fabulous.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you just go, all because of an act of kindness. It's like, you think about it. It's like people think, oh, I write a book to make money. No, you write a book because it's a strategic marketing tool. Yes. And you don't ever even worry about giving that book away, gifting it to clients. I know so many people that gift their book to clients. You're going to work with me. I have it shipped to your house for you, and then you've got it. So yes, that's the ultimate. You give, and like, look what you received in return. Yeah. And, even just meeting her for coffee was like a gift. So just having that, but then to turn around and now wow.
And then the other thing is, literally, as you say, it's like a business card on steroids. You give somebody your book and they take a picture of you with them holding your book. And then you post it or they post it on their social media. Honestly, it's been the best thing. If I'm invited to speak anywhere, I'll cart as many books there as I can, and I'll just give them away to people, because they are then reading them and they're telling other people about it. And, it's brilliant.
So, it's interesting. I'm American. Well, you know me, I'm actually Florida citizens, but, so maybe the rules don't apply to me, but I did not know that you couldn't bring a book to sell outside of the country. So that's really interesting. Now, have you ever had the experience, like, you physically put the books in your suitcase? Can you not drop ship your books through like Amazon and have them shipped to the hotel for you?
Yes, I think you could do. I've never had anything shipped to a hotel for me in the past, though. And I think when I was going to speak at the conference last year, it was my first time. And international travel right now is a bit, everyone's trying to stay very securely within the rules of what you can and can't do. So, I'd rather just stay inside the rules.
No, and that makes sense. And also too, at the end of the day, you don't want anything to happen that the books don't arrive. So, that's always kind of scary. It's like, okay,
I did have them shipped to Fujitsu though.
Okay. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. So as you kind of go through, your journey, you've learned so much, it takes a village. Kerfuffles will happen.
I love that term.
Isn't it a great term? And you just, you rise above it. Right. And then, so what are some of the, things for like, if you kind of went back in your time machine and say, I wish I'd known this one thing, what was sort of the biggest learning curve for you? What, if you had to say, what's that one thing?
I think the biggest thing for me was I wanted to write this book for so long. And how I did it was I dedicated every Sunday morning to writing it. And what I actually did, Gillian, was I wrote it as my LinkedIn newsletter. And that was the only way I was going to get this done. I thought about, booking myself. Like, I have a friend in Florida, and when she writes, she books herself into an Airbnb for 3 days, but I don't think I would actually I don't think I would do it. I think that having the right team around you, so important. Like, the editor that I used, she was just brilliant, so positive, kept me really on track. And I think, it's like going through mud, keep going. What is that phrase? You know what I mean? That when I was having those challenges with, and it's LinkedIn's trademark. It's not my trademark. They were completely within their rights. Just keep going. And that was, that served me well, because I really nearly gave up. And I do want to write. I have 2 other books that I want to write, but have I even started them? No, I have not. So what does that tell you? It was really, really a big challenge, a big achievement. And I haven't written another one since. So
and that's okay, because it's like, it took me 21 years to write my first book.
Yes.
But then I started writing, but then I paused, and, it's like I waited, and I got another one that's in the process, but they're just going to come out when they're supposed to come out. And I think, I always believe we're still learning maybe a lesson that belongs in that book, or right now you have to put all your efforts into this one because it's still serving you, and it's still serving the people that you serve. So it's kind of like the other one will come when it's time to come.
Yeah. And you know what is really fascinating to me is that I'm still being invited to come and launch my book, which is, and now you're giving me an idea, Gillian, because I'm thinking I should have the anniversary of my launch. That should actually be an event in Belfast. So might have to do that.
Definitely. There, celebrating your book baby's birthday, or book, whatever. Celebrating the anniversary for your book is amazing. I know Tina and I just did that. We celebrated ours, and it was a fun event, and it was online. But what are you going to do when your best bud lives halfway across the world? It's like, we do the best we can with a little help from AI. We can even hug. So it was kind of fun. It was kind of fun. Well, okay. I want to respect your time, and thank you for being here today and sharing your story, the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. But I think the silver lining is that it all works out in the end. And if it's not working out, it's not the end. It just means that you just have to keep going. And then, and I love it. I'm thinking now of like Finding Nemo. Is it Finding Nemo? And it was the fish, and he was like, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. That's kind of like you with LinkedIn. Just keep swimming. But
just keep
work out.
Kelly, that's my whole life.
Just keep swimming. So thank you for being here today, Louise. And thank you for everybody tuning in, listening in, and watching in. And we will see you again here next time.